Works and Utilities Committee meeting to order. Attendance, please.
Alderman Motley, here. Alderman, gone blank. Wilkins.
Present.
Alderman Hudson.
Here.
Alderman Magley.
Yeah.
Alderman Rogers.
Present.
Alderman Stevens.
Okay, attendance has been taken. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We need to turn the camera on.
It is on.
Is it recording?
Yes.
Through all that mess.
Already done it.
Okay, this will bring us to comments from citizens.
Well, you know I'm gonna say something.
Step up here.
Yes.
Oh, I'll let him go first.
Okay,
That's
I'm
fine.
sorry.
No, you're fine.
I've never attended one of these meetings, so bear with me here. My name is Todd Cooper. I live at 401 Orchard. And in the years, I've been at that house for 8 years, and there's a creek that cuts through my backyard, which I understand is city property. I was weed eating it for years, and finally somebody from the city asked me why I was weed eating, because that was their responsibility. Okay, that's not the point. When you get heavy rains, it gets up pretty close to the house. On June 19th, I've got video here where it was about 8 inches up on my garage door, and the garage door was keeping it from getting into the house, in mass amounts, but it was flooding my garage, and it was going through across the threshold and into my basement. My carpets are ruined. I'm not worried about the carpet. I'm remodeling the inside of the house anyway, but I was able to keep it out of the drywall. But who's to say I'm gonna be able to do that next time and keep it out, and when I start putting new flooring down? Now, in the years past, I've come in here and I've spoken to Lynn Barons, I've spoken to Matt Harlan, and I spoke to you a few weeks ago right after it happened. And I've been given different reasons why that creek hasn't been done like Miles has in concrete from Miles to Booth. Now, but right now, the more I've thought about it, the creek I would like to have done in concrete is for aesthetics reasons mainly. It'll look better. But right now, my main concern is that culvert where it goes down the Booth and into the city park area. Actually, it's restrictive. It acts more like a dam. Now, I've got video here of June 19. The water was up to the edge of the pavement on Booth. You can no longer see any of the grass. I've got pictures and video up on my garage door, and I got videos from inside my garage, water running into the house. And you told me that, and I've got other neighbors, we've been complaining about that creek for several years. I'm not the only one. Anybody that has property adjoining, bordering that creek right there, I'm the only one that has property on both sides of the creek. You said to come here and find out what was going on all together, but my question is if it's not in the budget to do both, because right now, I would rather, for functionality versus aesthetics, that culvert needs to be widened. It cannot hold the water flow when we get the heavy rains.
Okay. I did check down past into Parkview Court.
Right.
We had quite a few limbs that had accumulated there. I think with the limbs that were on the edge, which when the water gets that high, it's gonna pull anything, whether it's leaves, whatever, it's gonna pull that down. There's a smaller culvert there going under into Parkview Court.
Okay.
It had collected quite a bit and blocked probably half of it. That little restriction there alone is enough to start backing everything to the back. And I've been there 30 years, I've never seen it come up to the edge of the road, and we don't normally get rains like we had. So I think those limbs were a big contributing factor.
But on the other side, on the north side of Booth, it's hard to see because it was at 9:30 at night, but I took videos. I've got them here if anybody wants to see them. On the north side, the water was not this high. It wasn't high on the north side of Booth. On the south side, on my property line, it was up to the street. And if it had gone another inch or two higher, it would have been going over the top of the street and down into it. And and that's another thing too. When I bought that house, I was told on the disclosure about that house that it never flooded. Well, all right, it has, because I've talked to several neighbors and they said there was a couple feet of water in that house at one point in time. Okay, and there was a car in that garage and everything, so I got neighbors that be like, so on the disclosure, it was falsified to begin with. So it's not the first time this has happened. It's happened to the previous owner. And it's just one of those things where once the floors are 25, 26 years old, same age as the house. They need to be replaced. I'm in the process of getting ready to start doing that. But so I'm not worried about the carpet. And there was no claims, but once I get everything done, and if I'm not home when it happens to start battling this, I was up all night that Saturday evening. I was up all night long trying to keep it out of the house and keep it from getting up into the drywall. And you start having mold problems. I was able to keep it down this time. I've got a dehumidifier, I've got fans blowers, I kept it under control. The carpets are ruined, but I was in the process of replacing them anyway. The next time, what happens if I'm not home when it starts to flood like this?
We can't guarantee the weather. I will
Right,
tell you
I understand that.
And we are looking, like I said, at bringing that all around, from Miles Street to Booth Street, through with the sidewalk on the other side. That's the plan.
Right.
So we will look at and see the size of pipe, we'll have to really measure that good and look downstream of it to make sure that.
Well, that culvert there is actually concrete and it's square, it's rectangular, it's not. But I'm just saying, you get a heavy enough rain, I've got videos from the years past, when it starts getting up like that, I take pictures, I take videos, I've gotten for 5, 6, 7, 8 years back. And it does not hold, that culvert cannot handle that kind of water flow. It was not designed to hold, and a moderate rain is okay. If you start getting heavier rains, not just what we do this time, any other time we get just a downpour, nothing like we did on the 19th of June, it still gets up pretty close to the house. With Marie Hoffman, who owned the house before, I know people that knew her sons, I know the neighbors, some of my neighbors that have been around this say, oh yes, that house has had substantial flooding in it before. And it goes to show it's not just a rare occurrence, it does happen. And if I go in there and remodel and finish remodeling and it floods again, whose dime is it gonna be to redo the repairs? I don't wanna have to file a claim when the culvert and the creek that belongs to the city cannot hold the capacity of the water that goes through there on heavy rains. I'm not the one that built the house there. This should have all been figured out at some point in time. It doesn't need to be huge, but it does need to be widened.
We can look at it and see what we can do as far as size, what would maybe be the next available size, or possibly 2. I hate putting 2 side by sides, because then you get a center point
Right,
of stuff
yep.
blocked, that doesn't do much good. A channel would probably work better, which is kind of what you have now. We gotta think of safety too. Kids going through there, some way we might have to block that off, or
Handrails, guardrails around it.
something
Yes.
around it. So we'll have to look at that before we do it. It's a perfect time to be looking at this. I'm sorry it wasn't addressed previously. I've never been up there and seen it that high. I'm just saying, I didn't see it. So I wish I'd have known it. We would have had record. Phil's been at the street department for a lot of years, and we're just trying to figure out what we do. And if people don't tell us, sometimes
Right.
it gets lost in the shuffle. I don't want to blame it on
You
that.
asked if there were any branches blocking it this last time, there was one, I still got it in the yard there, but it's like a spruce, it's got needles on it, we don't have any trees in my yard, none of the neighbors do either, it came from upstream someplace, but that branch was only about yay big around, that's not enough to have sent it into my house.
Yeah.
There was one branch down in it I pulled out,
Yeah.
but,
Well, when we looked in it, after I talked to you, I went down and looked at it, wide open. There was nothing there. Went down, the park view was blocked, got that kind of somewhat opened up. Went over to the other edge of the park, minimal blockage, so every little bit in this flat town does not help. So
right.
we will look at it, if there's some maybe ditching that we can do to maybe help that process out. There is getting to be a lot of trees on the other side, so we've got some roots coming. We're gonna have to look at that too. So
Okay.
while we're doing this project, it's the time to get these things checked. And
Absolutely.
we will definitely do that. Something happens, well, then it comes down to city's insurance, your insurance. That's the only way we can handle it.
I understand. Exactly. I'm just trying to keep from having to file an
I
insurance
totally get
claim.
it.
Listen,
We don't need this much more rain again.
No. Well, like I say, aesthetics, the creek, I'd love to see it done in concrete, but after this time, if the budget couldn't afford both, I'd rather see the creek left alone and the culvert done.
And I think running through there and opening that up with the channel is gonna help you, because now you've got a narrow path that you can work through. It can't do it, so it's coming up quicker. We get the channel in there, I think it'll take the water better. We'll look at this and see, make sure we get our grade.
On the west side of the creek, and that's my property over there as well, if you need to dig it out a little bit more, that'd be fine. It would get, I spent 20 years chief engineer on the river, on Tullover, all right, and I understand how water works. It kind of has a low spot right there on the west side of the creek. as kind of a relief, a flood relief. You know, if you need to dig that out more, I wouldn't have a problem with it. It'd give it someplace to go other than towards my house. But it would,
Once we get to that point, we'll definitely talk to you and let you know what our plans are when we go through there along with everybody else that lives through that section. So
okay,
we'll do that.
all right. I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming in.
Appreciate you coming in.
Take care.
Mrs. Norman, you were gonna
Yeah.
bring something up?
Well, I have a question. Does the city have the authority to make landowners clean out a fence row on Columbia Street there north of Lakeview? The Parks Department and the city guys have been trimming those trees out of that fence, but they keep getting taller and you can't see the stop sign sometimes. And so, I mean, do we have the authority to make Stanton's clean out that fence row? On Columbia Street there on the section north of Lakeview? I mean, I don't know, I'm just asking because,
We've been doing.
I know you
it,
have.
You know.
and,
between
but it's getting
jobs.
taller again now again. And, if somebody comes through there in a golf cart, now I know they're not supposed to be going fast enough to make any difference. Or even in a little car, you can't see that stop sign right now.
Well, last year we had to trim it because it was, we talked about it.
Yeah.
We had to cut it because you couldn't see the stop sign, so it's a
Right.
bad area there.
We cut it just here not too long ago.
Well, you know, I mean, everything's sprouting because of all the rain, and I mean, I didn't know if there was a way that we can make Stanton's do something about it or not.
I will talk to Andrew. I've got a couple other things I need to touch base with him. Let me see if I can get something through him. And
Okay.
I'll see, if nothing else, we may have to.
Oh, I know, it's one of those things, but
Toward on it. and
I
see if
just
we
thought
can
I would
stop.
ask, I mean, I don't think the city should have to be responsible. I think Stanton should be responsible for cutting out their fence rows, and any landowner out in the county is. So, anyway.
Yeah, I can do that.
Any other comments from citizens? Okay, we'll move on to the electric department. The activity report is in the packet. Anything you would like to point out for us?
Yeah, we got a new guy, well, last month, Zach Townsend started up, so we're training him up as well. Another one of our furnaces, Austin, he went to climbing school for this year, did pretty well. Been doing a lot of training, and then one thing I'm pretty excited about, pretty pleased with, we had a pretty difficult pole to change out on Jefferson and Southgate. And I would say, since I've been here, that was probably the toughest pole I've ever done. And to have a guy up there that's been doing it for 6 months do a pretty darn good job, I was pretty proud of all the guys on the ground and everybody up in the air too, so we're well.
I know there was some outages this last weekend, but they didn't last very long.
No, it wasn't too bad. We were pretty fortunate with the last 3 weeks of storms. So we had one outage, that first big storm where it flooded quite a bit, and then after that, we didn't have another one until this last weekend, and it was just a service drop. So we fared real well.
Good, thank you. Any questions on the activity report? Anything for generation, purchase, distribution, other? No?
I want to ask a quick question. We've talked about it before, had a couple more people ask about it. I know it's not, I think it's Boone Electric, but just to touch base on it, I don't know who we need to talk to. Out there where you take Anchor Road, where JJ makes the curve, you go out over off of Good Old Chance Road, you're heading out, heading west. Amber, whoever, it would be really nice to have a light at that intersection and a stop sign there. So I'd like first to figure out who we need to talk to, or I could talk to about it. Because it'd be nice if we cooperatively put a light in or something out there, because it's really dark and that curve's sharp. You can see the reflectors if you're coming from 124 this way, but
I think Boone owns that pole line on the north side or south side of Gano.
that's what I was
It's
wondering.
running out through there.
It's Amber.
Don't have any service lines out there then.
So, and I don't know, is there somebody, I mean, we talked about it one time.
You'd have to call the Mexico office and see who's over Cameron in this area. That would be the people to talk to on that.
I'll do that. Thank you.
And I don't know if your new light on the sidewalk light,
That you just put in?
It don't work, we just got wire in this afternoon about 2:50,
Okay.
so we're gonna be pulling that in tomorrow.
Okay. Move on to Public Works, the street activity reports in the packet. No?
Oh, busy month with drainage.
Draining what?
More water than we've had dealt with in a long time. I can feel for his gentleman's concerns, but I mean, we had streets underwater that we've never had underwater before. So, yeah, it was a major fight on it every now and then. One of our big projects, we fixed the entrance over here for the police department. They probably all like that. Relocated an inlet and we did the entrance over here off Singleton.
From May?
Yeah.
Or what was to May?
Yeah. So we redid that and smoothed it out and redid a bunch of curb over there, got it all redone. Other than that, just patching street cuts and working on drainage.
Anybody have any questions about activity? Anything for streets, sanitation, stormwater? Other?
Mr. Hudson, my name is Dale Hughes, I live at 805 South Lawn. What is the, what are they gonna start doing about stormwater? Like you said, South Island had a few areas where it was flooded out, and a lot of the homes and stuff, yards are flooding out. What is, any idea when we can see sewers put in down through there to help alleviate some of that instead of the drainage ditches that are overflowing, you know, other than leaves and limbs?
We do have an engineer that we've talked to about the south part of town, mainly Chance and the Campbell Street area right there. If we can open a lot of that up, that's gonna clear all the way back up to you, up to Cox Street. We've got a grant that we're looking at that might help with some of that. We're trying to work all that in. So if we can get Chance opened up, and then the culvert right there, we're at Jefferson and and then the one that crosses Jefferson right there, just south of the high school. If we can check the sizing on those with what the water's coming through, I think that's gonna help a lot. Bill's talked about the north side of Gano increasing or doing something with that pipe size, but right now it's about this far under the ground, so it's gonna be a hard fix to try to do when we don't have any cover over the top of the pipe, so.
We were trying to do that with this fiscal year 2022, correct, with the grants, so we can do that.
Like how far down Allen Street you go north, there's no chance that the water will run south?
It's almost a southwest circle, isn't it?
Yeah, just south of Southwest Circle, a little bit town.
And then everything else goes
Jenny's-
north.
About where Jenny's Olders,
Well, from
Jeff
the
Jones,
north,
right in that area, that's kind of the split area.
right there at Alco, there's a pipe that goes all the way to the tracks to the west, and that's another pipe that probably needs to be increased in size.
It goes in, yeah.
Where Snake lives.
Then it goes under single
Yeah.
family, and then it
Yeah.
comes on.
That would help with a lot of that too, so.
We have things we are working on.
It all worked back in
Obviously.
the day, but everything's developed so much over there, it just can't carry it anymore.
Yeah, this last,
Yeah, looks
big
like,
storms were some of the biggest I think people have seen
in a while.
in a long time. So,
Yeah.
But some of these actions were in play before the storm hit. so
Right,
it's
no, I
definitely
understand
already-
that, you know, it's been a kind of a talk for the last 20+ years around here. I realize that we are in a flat area, it's even flatter south of, you know, down around the high school area. So I was curious as to what, if any actions are gonna be taken and kind of, you know, when they might see something.
We are hoping we would get the grant approval or get a grant and in fiscal year 2022 do some of the work on the south end of town, which will be helpful.
Okay.
Okay. Move on to water and sewer. Activity report is in the packet. Anything you'd like to point out?
New construction stuff going on, just trying to keep up with it, and you can see on there, we have met with another meter company, basically a radio company, Heather, Mike, and Chris actually stepped in on that. Also, we were still trying to do some, trial and error with that to see if it's gonna work for us or not. Not having the best luck at the first stages of it, so. But other than that, no, we're just doing normal operation stuff and lots of leaks and.
What are they telling you? Next week, we probably should be getting really close to being online, is that correct?
7 o'clock in the morning, we were going online.
Okay, maybe a little sooner than next week.
So, we
Getting
did
back
some stuff this afternoon. Obviously, we've got to do some extensive testing before we throw water out of that thing, but if everything tests out in the morning, then I'd say by 9 o'clock, we'll be sending water out, so.
Nice.
Still got a few little parts that haven't showed up that he's working around to make that happen. Construction guys out there have been good about, well, if we do this, that'll make that work and we can get by and not minimize any of the action of it, so.
So, once the parts get here, we will install them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, one of the major ones was the valves down the stairs. The company shipped the wrong one, and their plant actually got destroyed in a hurricane. So we were waiting for that part to now be reordered, and I think they said late August possibly for that part to come in, so.
Just say when it rains, it pours, that's not good say on that.
I announced that at church to everybody, because I've had several people asking about the water, you know.
It's been terrible.
The taste and the smell and
It's
it's
hard.
slimy.
The second
It's
one was
hard.
awful.
And so, but just to know, you can tell people, if they ask, we know to tell them that we're going back online, because we've been on well water, it's been hard water, and
Yep.
that kind of.
Yeah, it's gonna take probably a month of running just to dial everything in, so it's not gonna be an overnight fix.
It's got to filter through
Yeah.
all the pipes
So,
around.
we have water in the system that it's just gonna flip slowly over time, so. But it's, from what we can see, it's gonna be sharp setup, so.
Good, just looking forward to being up and running. Okay, anything else?
That's it.
Mr. Forsey, your report?
I've been working a lot with the engineers on the wastewater side. We're trying to get everything tied up. I think Heather has finally met the end of hers endless ask for paperwork and stuff, but we're trying to get some cost savings. We're still working on that. Had a real good meeting with Paul Jeffries, the electric contractor, and Boone Electric. We should be able to save some pretty good money at the Northwest on what we're gonna do there, and at Benoit's. I mean, we're talking a lot of footage that we thought we were gonna have to that we won't, and Boone Electric's gonna do that. So, that was really good news to hear that. I'm trying to think. Met with Darren on another little project he's thinking about getting going, so there's been a lot of stuff in the works. Met with Barella today on that, and that should go pretty smooth on that. It's pretty much done, so I think Matt would have to run a little electric, but that's basically it for our end.
Okay. Any as may arise?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Does anyone need a break?
Well, no, Landon's been sitting much and a couple others for a while.
Well, I have 8:09. I call this meeting the General Government and Public Safety Committee to order. I know attendance has already been taken. Any comments from citizens? Hearing none. Moving on to fire department activity reports in your packet.
Denny was not able to be here tonight. You want to update? You have any update for fire department for your dad?
Only thing he said was, there's nothing really.
I got nothing.
But
I really don't.
Where's he at?
he's got knees worked on.
He's bummed up, man. He's couched, he's
Uh-oh.
hurt, he's on the injured reserve for a while.
He said everything's going pretty smooth. They're working on fine tuning the SCBA cascade system, and he said they should be done with it pretty quick. So
Good.
Did a good job with fireworks display.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
I could even see it at my house.
There you go.
I know he's thinking maybe that might have been the last hurrah.
How long
We actually did not have very many, people show up to help. We had about just enough to make it happen, so some of them older guys, I think they're calling it. We might have to start looking forward to a different operation on the floor.
How long did the display last?
About 28 minutes.
Yeah, so like I said, just under half an hour.
Any other for the fire department? Moving on to police department. Hi. Anything you'd like to point out in the activity report?
Yeah, Bob.
Any questions or comments?
Where are we at on our emails on our radar trailer?
Yeah.
I've got one email since he said he was sending them out.
I
No.
was
I
thinking
haven't
that-
gotten none since.
I was thinking that too, when I read his report, he hasn't been sending out any of the emails on the trailers. We'd asked to see them,
The emails on the trailer?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like.
radar trailer.
Okay.
It's probably been 8 weeks or more.
Yeah.
It's out. You know where it's at now?
And it's moving
Yeah.
around, it's being used, and I love it.
Yeah.
I will follow up with him about that.
Yeah.
vehicles look nice.
Yeah.
They do. We have, we are taking sealed bids for the old K9 vehicle, that's the one with the blown motor. We actually have a couple of sealed bids for that. And then, the rest are going online for auction. The Explorer, I got listed before I went on vacation. And then when I came back, I had all the other information to list the other two for sale, so those got listed today. They'll be listed for 2 weeks. The Explorer's, auction ends on the 15th.
It looked like it was going for a pretty decent amount.
Yeah, we might have the reserve a little high. We'll see if it hits the reserve, hasn't hit it yet. The backhoe did not meet our reserve that we put, so I listed it with a different reserve. We'll see if we can sell it this time, so for another 14 days.
Any other for the police department? Emergency management?
We have been partnering with the county there with all of the storms. I've worked with the Public Works and Utilities crews. They got me some information about all of our call-outs because of the storm damage and the flooding. They're trying to file with FEMA or SEMA, actually I think it was with SEMA, to get some relief funding based on the storms. I don't know if they met the threshold or not. They had to get up to like $500,000 and countywide, and I don't know. Our portion was pretty small in comparison, even when we included all of the call-outs and their equipment use, and things like that, so.
Okay. Any protective inspection?
No.
No. Economic development, I see there is a Chamber of Commerce meeting notes. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, moving on to Park Board, the agenda in your packet. As well as the meeting notes. Any questions or comments? Library Board? Same thing, agenda and the notes.
I'll ask afterward.
Cemetery? No. Oh, there is? Sorry, I didn't see. Oh, the donations collected now.
No.
Any questions or comments on that? We have accounts payable over $1,250. And the financials, Heather, anything you want to point out?
No, I just just received those today. I do, I just want to point out that there are financials from March and May. We actually approved April, I believe, in May, but March was supposed to be included in that packet and it was not. So that's why March is included in this packet. That would have been into the fiscal year financial reports. I know Tara's still working with the auditors on a few things, but overall, that's going pretty well. They should be able to present our final results in either August or September.
Any other for general government? Yes, may arise.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, we stand adjourned.
You were right on there.
She's good, well, she was fired up for.